What is going on, everybody? My name is TAETRO, and we're not in my normal studio today. We are in my bedroom where I sleep. And the reason for that is I've recently set up a small little studio setup, you could say, in my bedroom away from my studio. I just think it's a different working environment to be like sitting in a bed, being comfy, rather than sitting at a desk where everything's hard, rigid. And for some of us out there, the only option we have is to utilize another space for our studio space, like our bedroom. I've been a bedroom music producer for pretty much my whole life. Started in just my bedroom in my parents' house, and even into my adult life, you always have to use different spaces in your apartment to make room for your creative space. So today's video, I'm going to be showing you the components of my little bedroom setup here. So if you were thinking of setting up your own small creative space, maybe in a bedroom, you know what you need. Today's video is sponsored by Tascam, who hooked me up with some of the sweet gear I'm going to show off in this video. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is TAETRO, your electronic music mentor. Real quick, I think it's important that y'all see this setup in action. And I recently recorded a short track in my bed with this setup. So check that out, and then we'll go over all the different parts of the setup.
Everybody knows that I'm in too deep. You're always on my mind right before I go to sleep. Maybe if I'm lucky I can see you in my dreams. Maybe if I'm lucky you can see me on the screen. Not gonna try so hard just to work this out. Let's see how it all plays out. What's meant to be will always be, just not right now. What's meant to be will always be, just not right now. What's meant to be will always be, just not right now.
Alright, so I hope you enjoyed that beat, and if you were paying attention to the gear, you can see that it's a relatively simple setup. But let's go ahead and break down each piece and the pieces that I think you need the most for a small creative space bedroom studio. First things first is your computer, or probably a laptop, especially if you're in a small space. Now, I do use a Macbook Pro, and I don't want to get into the whole Windows versus Mac debate here today, but I can say that my MacBook Pro has been very, very reliable, and I'm somebody who converted from having a Windows Ultrabook, and I don't think I would ever go back. I kind of always want to be in the Mac ecosystem from now on, but that's not an option for everybody. So the most I can say for you in choosing a computer for a music production setup is choose the best processor, RAM, and hard drive space that you can afford for your budget. So here we have a 2018 MacBook Pro. It's an i7, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and 256 gigabyte hard drive. And it runs pretty well. I use some external storage to make up for the small hard drive space. Other than that, runs Ableton and some hefty plugins like a champ. Next up, something I talk about all the time. You probably want a Midi keyboard. Now, if you want to be making beats or adding any type of virtual instruments into your music, like I did in that beat just there, you'll want a MIDI controller that you can not only finger drum with on these pads, but you can also play keys on. These are great for small creative spaces because a lot of them come in mini sizes. This here is the Mpk Mini, but if you're a fan of this channel, you know there are lots of other mini MIDI keyboards. For this particular setup, I chose the Mpk Mini because this goes with pretty much any software that you can use on your computer, which brings me to my next point, the software. Now, I use Ableton Live. That is my DAW of choice, digital audio workstation. Just a big fancy way of saying the software you use on your computer to make music. Now, if you're unsure of what software to go with, what I can tell you is there's really no easy software. GarageBand is kind of like a beginner level software, but all software has some kind of learning curve. And at some point, if you start with a GarageBand or something more limited, you're gonna wanna grow out of it into something bigger, like Ableton Live, Logic, FL Studio, all the popular ones. My best advice to you in choosing a DAW is to figure out what producers you like the most, and then watch a bunch of videos and figure out what DAW they use, because it's likely that you probably want to do what they do, so start learning and using the tools that they use. Even if you're a beginner, dive headfirst into some hefty software like Ableton Live, Logic, The main ones, Pro Tools, FL Studio, and just start making music, learn how to use them at a basic level, because you're gonna eventually do that anyway if you're taking this seriously. Don't hold off and look for an easy DAW. The next piece of kit you might have noticed is this box here. This is an audio interface. So what this allows me to do is plug in either a microphone or an instrument and have it run into my DAW directly into my computer. So this connects to your computer via USB, and it provides phantom power for microphones that require it, like condenser microphones. This here is the Tascam Series 102i, and it is a very hefty, nice build quality interface that I've really enjoyed using. It's got 2 combo jacks, XLR and instrument cables can go into here. It's got MIDI in and out, and it's also got line out for your monitors. Now, an audio interface isn't 100% necessary if you're not recording in any external instruments or any vocals. Say you just wanted to make beats on your computer using software and a MIDI keyboard, you could get away with not using an audio interface. But if eventually you're thinking about adding a vocalist, a rapper, or an instrumentalist who can plug right into here, you might think about getting an audio interface. And not only that, but if you're thinking about getting some fancy speakers, which we're not even using speakers in this setup, but if you are, an audio interface gives you the proper outputs to send out to high quality speakers, rather than the headphone jack on your laptop. If none of that matters to you, skip the audio interface. And speaking of microphones, if some of that does matter to you and you are a vocalist or even you want to record some instruments, you might consider getting yourself a condenser microphone. Now I say specifically a condenser microphone because this is the type of microphone you see in a lot of different recording studios. Condenser microphones are different than microphones you see on stage when a singer is usually holding the microphone. Those are dynamic microphones and those have their own uses. You can use them in the studio for sure, but if you're looking for a nice bright microphone that will capture all the different nuances of different types of sounds like I used on my vocals and my guitar, you'll probably want to go with a condenser. And this here is the Tascam Tm80, which is a very nice condenser microphone that I used for this session. I thought it sounded good on my voice and my guitar, so it was useful for both those functions. Like I said before, this is a condenser microphone, so it requires phantom power, which my audio interface provides. Last up here, you're gonna need a pair of headphones. You notice I'm not using speakers in this setup at all because it is supposed to be a small creative space where I'm not disturbing anybody else in the apartment or in the surrounding apartments. So I'm working in headphones here. And the headphones I'm using today are the Tascam TH06. They have a really great bass response, like crazy bass response. And the over-ear design, which this is something you want to look out for when choosing headphones. What kind of design do they have? On ear, meaning they're just resting on your ear. Over ear, which means they sort of cup your ear, which I prefer because it gives a little bit of isolation. They're not noise canceling by any means, but when you put them on, they fully cup your ear, so they kind of block out some of the outside noise. These plug right into my audio interface so I can hear what I'm playing in real time. And then I can also do a little bit of mixing, but I have to spend some more time learning these particular headphones because they have such a big bass response. But a lot of headphones lack that, so I think that that's pretty cool. Alright, so if you got your computer with your software, your MIDI keyboard, your condenser microphone, your audio interface, and your headphones, you're up and running and you can do everything that I just did in that beat video you watched at the top. This would be a very good beginner setup for those who don't want to invest too much, but do want to have the ability to do lots of different things with the recording setup. Take it from me, you don't have to buy all this gear all at once, you can buy them one small piece at a time, and make sure your setup reflects your needs as a musician and as a creative. If you're a singer-songwriter, you're absolutely going to want a condenser microphone and an audio interface. If you're just a beat maker, you probably can get away with just having the laptop or the MIDI keyboard. It's what's best for you in your situation. If you want to set up your own bedroom studio, I've got links to all the gear you saw in today's video in the description down below, and I would love to hear from you. Drop a comment and let me know if you are setting up a bedroom studio, and if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Anyway, that's going to be it for now. Thank you all so much for watching. This has been TAETRO. Have a good one.